This is Vic Patel with Craft Express.
My name is Ashley from Artistry.
It's Gavin, founder, creator of Seps.io, and you're listening to
Two Regular Guys podcast,
Hosted by
Terry Combs RG, regular guy,
and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
Prepare for the wild.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, September 27th, 2024. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery with our Success Group, and I help business owners break free from chaos and turn that into clarity by cultivating an uncommon mindset. So if you want to head over to osg.link/thank you, you can learn a little bit more about that, and we can have a chat. But today, Terry and I are going to be recapping Printing United. I know there's been a lot of Printing United talk on this show, Terry, but it's for a good reason. The industry, I think, we're going to have Adrienne join us for the news here in a little bit, and I'm sure she would say the same thing. It was cool. It was like just a really great opportunity, and I think there's still things that we can unpack from that. And so with my post Printing United travel and everybody trying to catch their breath again, we recorded some stuff there, and we haven't even really been able to dive into that. I know you and Eric talked a little bit on that Friday after the show, but right. This will be, I think this is really going to be fun and really informative for folks because, okay, yes, it's not just about promoting Printing United or et cetera, et cetera. It's, you know, we were able to talk to some people. I've got a couple of recorded pieces here from Stalls, from Kornit, and even Amanda over there with Printing United. So we're going to pop a couple of little clips up there, and we'll talk about them, talk about some other things that maybe you guys didn't have a chance to cover Friday, Terry. So I think this is going to be a really informative show for everybody. So I encourage them to, really
looking forward to it as well. And it was an incredible show, and we'll get into all of that, but be sure and stay till the very end for the secret sauce. I'm going to be stirring up something special today. DTG or DTF printing. What's the best choice for you?
Is this going to be like a battle? Is there going to be like conflict?
Battle Royale. Yeah.
Battle Royale, the DTG DTF Battle Royale coming your way. Well, before we get to the news here, Terry, I just want to encourage everybody that if you're tuned in live right now, do us a favor, just go over there and hit that share button, or just click on the share and go post that in your social media channel. Say, hey, come over, let's talk industry here. And again, we're going to be recapping some things from Printing United, but I think this is going to be more of an industry-wide conversation. There's going to be things about sustainability. There's going to be some things about what we're seeing as trends, and just kind of the future of what's happening in the industry, some of the innovations we saw. So this is a conversation that we need more people to be a part of in the live broadcast right now. So again, head over there and hit that share button, and heck, subscribe while you're there, like it, all that kind of fun stuff as well, Terry. So
it's going to be kind of a state of the industry as much as it is talking about Printing United, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Ramona says here, what a way to end the week. The best podcast in social media. I love that. Thank you, Ramona. And then you kick off your weekend with coffee and conversation over there with Ramona, and check that out. So okay, well, Terry, we are excited to welcome back Adrienne Palmer from DTFprinting.com. We appreciate all of her time. And we always ask, like, where are you at in the world, right? She's awesome where she's out there traveling. She was kind of updating us on some stuff. But are you ready to bring Adrienne in here, Terry?
Absolutely. Let's hear the news. And it was great seeing Adrienne down over in Las Vegas.
There we go.
I guess I said down, I said over. It's up for me.
Down and over for me. So thank you. I appreciate that, Terry. All right, Eric, whenever you're ready.
Hey everyone. Hi Aaron and Terry. It was great seeing you in Vegas for Printing United Expo as well. Sounds like a great show ahead. Excited to hear your thoughts from the expo, and then of course the DTF DTG conversation, but of course the industry news for you all. First up, Fiery, a provider of digital front ends and workflow software, has announced that Epson will be acquiring the company. The wholesale purchase acquisition will preserve Fiery as an independent DFE provider and strengthen its industry leadership, according to a release. The transaction is valued at $591 million. Up next, DTF Printing is partnering with Kevin Baumgard, president of Sales Inc., for a live webinar on October 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Direct to Sales, Proven Strategies to Drive DTF Printing Growth will provide DTF printers with ways to create an outbound sales strategy. Plus, all registrants will be entered to win a Sales Inc. Academy subscription valued at $2,500. You can register at dtfprinting.com today. And last up, for the second time, DTF printers demonstrated their direct-to-film printing knowledge and expertise by competing in the DTF Printing T-shirt contest. More than 60 participants received a blank UX Print T-shirt and a downloadable file with the design, and the winner was announced at Printing United Expo in Las Vegas. Congratulations to Spencer Chernoff of Limitless Transfers in Front Royal, Virginia. He received a trophy, a digital badge, and $500 toward one of our sponsors, DTF Superstore. Spencer used his color drop forehead DTF printer with Coldesi inks and transfer film from One Step Papers. And again, you can head to dtfprinting.com to see footage from the judging, the entire awards ceremony, and even a special edition of the DTF Printing podcast where I interview Spencer live from Printing United Expo show floor. So that's it for me. Thanks, guys. Have a great show, and everyone have a great weekend.
Well, that news that Epson acquired Fiery was shocking to me. And for any of the, for people like a lot of screen printers out there, actually DTF decorators as well, Fiery acquired CADLink that, we've all known, and especially in screen printing industry for decades. And that happened a year ago, I think. And then when Epson
I've been living under a rock, Terry.
Yeah, it's someday it'll all just be one company.
Yeah.
Everybody will be
When are they going to? I think their next big acquisition is going to be terrycombs.com.
I think so. And then we'll just all answer to Skynet. All hail Skynet.
Right. That's right. And then they can acquire two regular guys. I see the plan, Terry. I see you've got this plan coming together. Well, thank you very much, Adrian, for sharing the news with us there. So make sure that you guys get over there and check out those links that Eric so feverishly put in there for us. Eric, can we just Terry, take a moment and give Eric a round of applause here. I think that just keeping it going, you guys have these things that you can just click on right there. If you're tuned in live, if you're a podcast listener, you'll be able to click those links once you get onto the podcast page where you can listen from our website. But just, all the information is right there and very timely. So we appreciate that.
It's easy for him, though, because this two regular guys is the only thing he has to think about all day long.
Yeah. I mean,
when iron's in the fire, there's a picture of Eric in the dictionary. If in fact there were still dictionaries.
Wait to give me a yes, exactly. So and today is definitely going to be a very challenging show for Eric. There's going to be a lot of moving parts and pieces. So if anything seems to be off the rails, you guys just all point right here at me. Two A's, AARON. It was my creation, so I like to make it as chaotic as possible for Eric. He always amazes me, so I always have to test him to see how far I can push him. All right. Well, before we get to the dad joke here, Terry, I want to say good morning to some folks that are tuned in. We've got Cindy King checking in this morning. Good morning. Hello, Rena Cooper as well. Good morning. And Doug checking in from Los Angeles, California this morning. So thanks for being here, you guys. Jump in. And good morning to Chuck as well. Thank you, Eric, for catching that one. I didn't scroll down far enough. And as we go throughout this conversation here today, Terry, I want to encourage people to jump in with your conversations, right? I know Rena was at the show. I know Doug was at the show, right? And even if you weren't at the show, we're talking, like you said, kind of state of the industry, Terry. So we want to hear from you guys, and we want to hear, your thoughts, what your takes are on some of these things that we're sharing. So today I really want it to be an engaging conversation as opposed to me talking all the time or you talking all the time, Terry. So
And
do you
I
think I can
appreciate
do it?
you, Aaron, putting together the outline because I was just swamped this week. So I was
That's
glad to
good
go
then.
look and see you had it all put
I know,
together.
but I did it like last minute again, so you were probably a little nervous, and I apologize for that.
I did go look this morning.
Okay, good. Uh-oh. Yeah. So, well, it was all these great intentions, right? And then I pulled up the audio that I had captured there at Printing United last night, and I was like, "Oh no!" And a lot of it was really bad, but thanks to my good friend ChatGPT, I figured out how to clean it up, and I think it's at least
Nice.
shareable. So,
Well, anytime you record at a trade show, there's so much background noise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The Stalls interview's definitely got a lot of background noise in it, so you guys will have to. But it's a pretty short clip. I think the Cornette interview was a little bit better, and my interview with Amanda was a little bit better too. So, and then we'll see our interview. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show here. So, okay. Well, I think the moment we've all been waiting for, Terry, it is dad joke time. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
So, Aaron, do you know what the walk of shame is for a full-grown man?
I do not.
It's going back for a shopping cart when you realize you can't carry 23 items to the grocery store checkout.
It really is.
So guilty of that. I've
You're
got,
like,
you
you
know, be upset if I stick a couple of these things in my pocket.
yeah, then it looks weird. But I think the real challenge there, Terry, is do you carry all of what you do have to the cart, or do you set it down, go get the cart, and come back? That's always been my big challenge.
Yeah, true enough. And yeah, and then of course it's walking back into the store to get that bag of ice, even though they said, "Do you need ice?"
I love it.
Check out, back in for the bag of ice.
Yeah. So not
Anyway.
necessarily dad joke today, Terry, more of a PSA. So there you go, everybody.
Indeed. All right. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank everyone for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We still need your voices. We would love to have the regulators participate in our show intros. Go to decorators.ink/intro and read a few sentences. Be a part of the show. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys to book a future episode, or email us at info@tworegularguys.com with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, we'd appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there. And if you're watching us live right now, please, as Aaron had said, join in with your comments and your questions.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having you guys participate here and see we've got some people streaming in. So let us know that you're here. Get into the comments there right now. But Terry, you ready to dive into this kind of state of the industry recap?
Yeah.
Et cetera. Could you maybe introduce? I know we've kind of already introduced it a little bit, but why else is this an important part that we said, hey, you know what, we need to put a show together for this?
Well, the thing that struck me, Aaron, was people came there to buy. And I'm not saying that, the listener says, oh yeah, Terry's a vendor. He wants people to come there and buy.
Yeah.
It says way more than that. It says that people are confident in the future of their business. And so it was probably one of the best buyer shows that we've had at Equipment Zone anyway. And I certainly talked to a lot of other folks who agree that since before COVID. And so, yes, hey, I'm all about making a commission on a sale, but I was much more interested in the fact that people just were super upbeat about the future of the industry and the future of their particular businesses, and they were ready to be there and to grow. And we'll talk about the apparel zone, but I got to go down there and speak 4 times, and just people eager for education as well. So
Yeah.
it was just a super positive experience. And we vendors, Aaron, and speakers, I've said this a thousand times, we're like carnies. We go from show to show and get to see each other, and that's the granddaddy of them all, for us to see all of our industry friends. Sometimes that's the only place each year that we get to see a lot of friends and customers and industry friends. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I like what you said too, because even in other previous years where spirits were high, Printing United, formerly SGIA, wasn't always necessarily a buyer's show. I think people came to learn, see what's people would release new stuff there, kind of prototypes and things like that, and then maybe head to Long Beach or one of the Graphics Pro shows into the next year and start doing their buying. So I think that's really interesting. I haven't been quote unquote on the show floor in, I don't know, years now for me to, be out there selling a piece of equipment like you, Terry. So it's always interesting for me to I can see the trends based on what you're telling me is happening out there at the shows when buyers show up, right? When people came here to buy. And the other interesting part about that to me, Terry, is we're in a tumultuous time. We can all agree on that, right? There's some crazy stuff happening out there right now. And so the tendency for a lot of folks in that type of environment is to sit on their hands. And I was blown away by how little of that was happening, of how little of those conversations were happening. In fact, the few times that I did kind of run into some people that were kind of like, woe is me. Like the energy and the vibe of the things just kind of made that melt away so quickly that they couldn't help talking about, oh, did you see this cool thing? Did you hear this about, so,
well, and Aaron, I was at the grocery store just yesterday. So yeah, it's a crazy world out there, but don't really see it in the industry though. I didn't see any big price hikes or things like that. And which means a lot of manufacturers and suppliers they're kind of eating a little bit of that because they've got the fuel costs and things like that to deal with. But it certainly didn't hit like when I went to buy eggs yesterday.
Yeah, that grocery store is an insane place. Yeah, sandwiches from the local place. So like, wait a second, I could have last year gone and had a sit down steak meal for this. What's going on here?
Exactly. And I don't know how people who punch the clock for a living, I don't know how they do it. It's the prices are just, prices are coming down some, like gas prices here in Arizona, but still $1.50 higher than they were just a couple of years ago. So yeah.
Well, we're what?
Well, that's the downer. Let's get back on that.
Yeah, I was going to say
train.
I think we're 50 days away from or so about clearing that stuff up a little bit, at least having some better understanding of what's
clarity,
happening.
At least, yeah.
Clarity, yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's get into talking about what we have here on the outline. And again, you guys talk to us about what you want to hear, what you want to discuss. Pop that stuff into the comments whenever you're ready.
Aaron, I didn't get a chance to even talk to you about the next thing that you were going to talk about, the Printing United Media Day. So I'm really curious about how that went.
Yeah, definitely. So this year, Printing United did something completely unique to any other kind of media day that I've ever been a part of. In the past, Printing United has been really good about having this media lounge and taking care of the people that are covering the event. But then what would happen is throughout the course of the show, all of the vendors, sponsors would have different, for lack of a better term, press conferences.
Right.
That, okay, it was fine. But it was, a 60-minute PowerPoint presentation of here's how awesome we are and why you should write about us.
And tiny little sandwiches.
Yeah. And if you will write about us, we'll bribe you with some food in the back. Yeah, exactly. And again, nothing wrong with that, right? You get to that. That's kind of been the traditional way to have that press and PR and stuff like that. But Printing United, through a couple of other programs, like Terry, you're familiar with the Apparel Decorator Summit. You've been a part of that at Equipment Zone, and they do a similar event over in the NAPCO side of the business as well. So they call them buyers events, I think something like that. And so they kind of took that format and said, hey, what if we use that format to also do this media day? And it was really, really cool because it just changed the vibe. It changed the way that people interacted with each other, the vendors and the media. So what it was is the day before the show opened, they had what they called their media day, and it was a full day of stuff. So we got in there, Printing United and NAPCO had a little bit of a presentation, an amazing presentation from Ford talking about what Printing United is all about, which I think I talked about that in the recording that we did there in the show that we won't be able to get to today because we don't have it yet. But basically talking about the fact what Printing United is all about. They want to grow Printing United, not to grow Printing United, but so as an industry, we have a bigger voice, right? There's things happening legislatively, industry-wide that could really affect everybody, right? Carbon black stuff, what does sustainability really look like? And, because sometimes there's sustainability initiatives that are just self-serving for somebody else that are going to hurt everybody else. But what we need are sustainability initiatives that actually truly are going to work and work for everybody involved. So that was kind of the kickoff of it. And then each of the vendors, instead of a 60-minute PowerPoint presentation, they had between 15 and 10 to 15 minutes to just give us the high level of what's happening in their world. And then once those presentations were done, we broke out into a separate room where, as media, we could schedule with the different vendors to sit down at a table with them for 10 minutes and have an interview, right? Whether that was interview them on a video, whether that was, in our case, I had our little microphone there, that type of thing. And so I thought it was really cool because now, instead of me just sitting in this room, checking off a box saying, okay, this is what Kornit's got going on, this is what Stahl's got going on, yay, I'll take a couple pictures and post it on social media. I was actually engaged with the people from Stahl's. I was engaged with the president of Kornit Americas and was able to have a real conversation with him in 10 minutes. And so it was really cool. And then because of the fact that it was the day before the show, what I heard and what I was able to experience is then all the media was able to go out onto the show floor and get the nitty gritty, get the details of what they wanted to share with their audiences, because media is not the same anymore, right? There's not a bunch of guys running around with their newspaper hats on trying to get the daily news, right? Like, there are videos, there's podcasts, there's, all sorts of different ways that people are getting their information. So that's the quick overview. Not so quick, but that's the overview of Media Day. I was really blessed to be asked to MC the event, kind of keep things rolling. And we had a lot of fun. We used the pom-poms. I had on a bow tie. And so the experience of it was really great. Oh, and by the way, we ended the day with a cocktail hour. So a too regular guy never passes up an opportunity for a cocktail hour. So that's kind of the overview of it. Like I said, I was really blessed to be able to also not only be there as part of the media team to cover for Two Regular Guys, but also be able to MC the event and work closely with Amanda to make it what it was. And Amanda did a fantastic job. Mark Suber's over there. He really did what it took to push that through. It was a big deal for them, because this was out of the norm, right? They didn't know how it was going to be received. Everything that I've heard, it was very well received, but who knows? It could have flopped, and they were willing to take that risk and try something new. So very,
the Apparel Decorator Summit, just like you mentioned, was basically set up just like that, but instead of media, it was customers who were having their 10-minute sessions. And I remember saying to the Apparel Decorators Summit folks, this is brilliant the way you have this set up. And they're like, okay, well, we borrowed it from NAPCO. We thought it was brilliant too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the idea of it though. And you're also not running all around the building. And like you said, they have 15 or 20 or 30 minutes to talk. They didn't have to fill time. They didn't have to make sure everybody gets in the door and entertain you a little bit. And give you the State of the Union over and over and over again. So good
I think
job,
that
man.
was, yeah. And I honestly think that was probably the biggest challenge for some of the vendors is they were used to that. Hey, I'm going to be up here in 60 minutes and we're going to, got this kind of spiel that they were used to. And Printing United said, no, make that 10 minutes, get to the meat of it quickly.
Yeah.
So then people know what to ask you when they're having, and so that's a lot of the questions that I ended up asking folks were, hey, based on the presentation, right? Stalls, Josh Ellsworth gave the presentation. Great job. Josh always does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And my questions were based on his presentation, right? And so okay, great. I loved what he said, but tell me more,
I love it.
And I think that's where the real information comes from. That's where we can really get value out of, these relationships and what we're learning. When you hear something, here's just a quick tip for all of us. And this is something that's been really beneficial for me. When you hear something that you're like, oh, that's interesting, then add the tell me more, right? We forget to do that part. We go, oh, that's interesting. And then we just go on about our day. But if you hear something that's interesting to you, it's your responsibility to stop and say, hey, Terry, tell me more. Right. So anyhow.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I brought up Stalls. And from the apparel, quote unquote, apparel side, unfortunately, there weren't a ton of folks that were represented in Media Day there as much as I would have liked to have seen. You didn't have any of the big screen print guys, no Rock, no M&R, none of that. So there was.
Wait, Ryan Moore wasn't there? Did he know there was a microphone?
Apparently it was in my hand, and so I don't know. But Stalls was there, Kornit was there, another company called New Coat was there, and I've got a recording from them, but I could not find it last night in all of this. So I'll try to get that out there. But my first sit down was with Stalls, and I asked them 4 questions based on what Josh had shared in his presentation. First question I ask, a lot of people talking about the challenge of hiring people. I asked them, what is Group Stalls offering technologically that could help with that, right? Not training people for how to hire or for hiring actual people, but are there some ways to automate, to use technology to better solve some of those problems and get the right people in the right places? So the two, and we don't have time to play every single clip. If somebody really wants this stuff, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share the raw data with you. But I thought we'd just recap a couple of these points real quick. Terry, does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So their answer to that question was they've got a program, a software, SAS, I guess they call it, that they purchased called Fulfill Engine. And they saw that being a really good tool for people to look into. It's going to remove a lot of the paperwork. So all that paper shuffling that goes on, the person that did that could probably then move on to something a little bit more productive for you. So that kind of on-floor production manager probably isn't needed. That person can look at ways to improve the business, right? Again, they're not saying, hey, you got to get rid of people. It's saying, how can we make the people we have more productive? And through using barcodes, automation, and a lot of that stuff. So all of the information about the different jobs is right there. The other technology piece that they've showed off last year at Printing United, and I think it got a lot more play this year, was what they call their ProPlace IQ. I don't know if you saw that, Terry, but basically it's shooting a picture. So how do you line up, how do I line this up on a shirt, right? Well, I can get a ruler out. I can get one of those little fun tools and try to do all that stuff. They actually say, load the shirt the same way every time. We're going to shoot a picture of that job. You're going to scan a barcode. That picture is going to be projected down onto the thing with clear DTF film or things like that. I don't even have to think about it, right? Like I could probably train a monkey to do this, not to, and that's what I need, right? When you're busy and you're trying to get things done, if you can make it that simple that a monkey could do it, would that not be the way to go? So,
or a caveman, but apparently that's offensive to that,
that
guy in the Geico commercial. Aaron, that technology, a lot of people look at that and go, well, I don't need that to line up my shirts. No, you don't. But do you want an employee to do it exactly the same way every time? And that's the beauty of this technology.
Yeah, yeah. And I take that one step further, Terry. You don't, but what if the you that, is distracted and has 27 things going on could use that to have less spoilage, right? I mean, come on, let's be honest. Yes, I probably don't, but how many shirts have I ruined because I was distracted and didn't really go back to what I know, right?
Yeah.
Like I've been there, so I can't imagine that I'm the only one that's ever ruined a shirt, right?
Right.
I've asked in all of my seminars, has anybody here never made a mistake in their business? And I've yet to have anybody raise their hand that wasn't trying to be funny. So, yeah. So that was that. That was the first part of it. They kind of said, that's an opportunity that again lower the talent requirement, so you can take a chance on somebody that might not be as skilled, and give them an opportunity to learn and grow. Plus, it's going to make it faster and more productive, so you might be able to run your business with less human requirements, and again, moving people into roles that are more appropriate for moving people up the ladder. So the next question that I asked him, Terry, was what separates Ultracolor Max from the competitor? If for those that aren't familiar, Ultracolor Max is their DTF product that they sell through Transfer Express. Am I getting that right, Terry, as far as you know?
Yes.
Okay. And so I said, just what separates it, right? And funny, the first thing that they said totally reminded me of exactly what you say all the time. In fact, in the recording, you can hear me actually say, oh yeah, Terry says this all the time. There's lots of printers out there, not a lot of good printers. and so, this is something that they've been doing before we all knew DTF was a thing. I mean, this was DTF before DTF, so to speak. They also mentioned that the inks that are used, they're very aware and concerned about the safety and health of their employees that make this stuff in their factories. So they've gone really not overboard, but they lean on the side of caution when it comes to the safety of the products, from the adhesives and the inks and things like that. So it's all Oeko-Tex certified. They said the inks are actually made in the US, so they can keep control of what's actually being put in them. So really just kind of putting safety at the forefront of their operation. So what, any takes on that we need to discuss?
Well, yeah, the having the inks and the adhesives certified is a huge step forward, and that was a huge deal in direct to garment printing just a few years ago. So clearly it was an easier step this time around, but
Sure.
There are inks made in Europe and in Western Europe right now that are Oeko-Tex certified as well. So
thank you for helping me. The correction on the name.
I believe that's right.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about Kornit in a bit too, but anyhow, there's another one. Cool. Yeah, I think that's right. And again, all the craze, and if we're not aware and careful with what we're doing, things could, slip through. If there's a lot of moving parts and pieces when you think about a DTF transfer from the inks to the adhesives to the films. Where did that all start from, and what's in that stuff?
I was just talking to somebody this past week who was asking me about buying some inks and what do you think about this product? And I said, listen, there's lots there. You can find cheap inks and cheap products coming in from Asia, but do you want to? And you're so much further ahead buying from a and this was actually screen printing inks, but much better off buying from a qualified vendor, somebody that's going to be there to answer your questions, than running around looking for this is $10 cheaper a gallon. And be smart about what you do, because who knows what's in that ink.
Yeah.
And zero support. And I know, Aaron, you hear that as well. Somebody goes, but this direct to garment printer was $10,000 cheaper. And is it running right now? No, I've got a tarp over it in my garage. But man, you saved 10 grand.
Good for you. It's like when my wife has to use her Kohl's cash. I'm like, but you weren't going to buy it to begin with, so you're not actually saving any money. Anyhow.
People everywhere are laughing right now about that. My Kohl's cash runs out today.
Yeah. Hey, I get it, and I will never win that argument, so I have to give up. But I'm not gonna give up. All right. So the next question I asked him was, how do you see heat printing at the forefront of sustainability? And what Josh had shared in the presentation, plus the conversation that we had with Gary and Cassie, kind of led me to ask that question. So in this case, I do have a clip that I'd like to share. And again, I do apologize if it's a little bit hard to hear. I did as best I could to kind of clean it up. There's definitely a lot of background noise. I did not have the mic set up. This was my very first interview of the day, and I was taking care of my responsibilities of emceeing the event. And so I just kind of said, hey, Stalls, you're available. Let me sit down here, record. So, but I did my best. So, Eric, are you ready to, if you could play that? Okay. Whenever you're ready, Eric. And I think Josh did a great job covering it, but I'd just love to kind of expand on it a little bit. Sustainability, apparel waste. That was something we actually had Cassie Green and Gary Jones on our podcast. And I was thinking, what the sustainability issues were. I didn't really even think about the apparel waste side of things. And so I know Josh addressed that in his presentation, but how do you guys see heat printing as a solution for sustainability when it comes to things like apparel waste and whatnot?
I love this topic.
Okay.
So a big part of sustainability that I think people don't realize is, Josh kind of touched on it, right? Like getting those apparel garments from places where you don't know what's happening on the back end. Like, what are they doing to children and things like that? Like, you have a control of your environment now where you're just doing it as it needs to be applied. You're not having to have like a whole warehouse full of people doing this all the time. So it's about the environment, right? Like it's about your workforce. I know I'm going all over the place.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
it's a good topic. It's important topic.
So there's the sustainability in that sense, right? Like it's your work environment, you're controlling it, all of that. Like how are you treating your employees? How are you, are you making sure that it's a safe environment? Like Karen's alluding to the inks and things like that. Like we're trying to stay ahead of it so that way when it does come in the US, because it will, we'll be ready for it. But as far as like the actual technology of the heat press, right? So that we do this all the time where we have our activation set up in these small environments, like Miami Heat's a perfect example. The Miami Heat, they have, I think, like 24 different combinations of what they can decorate their jerseys in. So if they had pre-applied every single one of those options, and then had them in 5 different types of jerseys, that'd be a lot of waste when the season turns over.
Exactly.
So now what they've done is they have a specific amount of planks that they're ordering, which stays consistent from season to season for the most part. And then they have their pre-cut options to heat apply right then and there. So a customer is placing the order at the game and then comes and picks it up later in the day.
Nice. Wow.
So,
Was I don't think anybody realizes how much waste there is with garments that go into the landfill. When Cassie was on our show talking about that, I was kind of floored by the huge amount of waste. And and I mentioned there on the show that I caught a shirt at the Arizona Cardinals football game, when in reality they were shooting them from machine gun cannon. It landed between my feet. I had a hot dog in one hand and a beer in the other as I was walking down to my seat. And so people started to reach for it. I just clamped my feet together on it. I'm never going to wear that shirt. Someday it will be in the landfill.
Absolutely. I think so. Just what she talked about there, I thought was really important, right? When you think about that, Eric's got a term that he uses. Well, Eric's probably got a term, I'm sure, but Jay Bassell is, I think, as I've heard it from him too, the brand fill, right? Just the crap that we put our logos on that's going to end up in a trash can,
right?
And so when you're decorating a garment, right, like. Yeah, I know people are worried about the budget, but if you can change the conversation and have it more about the impressions, right? How many people are going to see that product, right? You talked about the Cardinal shirt you're never going to wear. Okay. But if that was your favorite shirt that you wore all the time, people would see that Cardinals logo all the time, right? You know, say if that's your favorite hat that you wear all the time, right? So,
or they'd say, "Oh, it's sad." But good for you.
Good for you. All right.
What's your heart for being a Cardinals fan?
What's your heart? I think Cindy can confirm that's how they talk to you in Texas when they like, bless your heart. All right. So the last question I had for Stalls that we can talk about real quick is just what is Fulfill Engine? I'm not sure I still 100% know. I think it's so much that it's hard for them to describe. So, you know, if anybody's got different thoughts or ideas, but what I've kind of took from all the things that I heard was it's a software as a service for production management, but it's also a web store builder. And it's also then a link to be able to outsource so you can add more products without having to take on more decorating techniques in that moment, right? And so it's a approved network, Stalls approved. So it's not like just anybody can sign up and be part of the network. And so you never know what you're going to get. These are folks that have been, you know, vetted by the folks at Stalls. And so if you believe in what Stalls is doing, then I think you can by association say, okay, well, this person that's going to do this outsourcing for me can probably do a pretty good job too. So that's what I took. And again, if you guys want the raw data about how they explained it, happy to share that with you guys at any point. So Terry, any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't. I think sounds like a great product. I never get to go out and look at any of this kind of thing because I'm always working in a booth. In fact, on the day you were doing media day, you texted me and said, "How's setup going?" And I said, "Horrible." And you said, "Oh, I'm having a glass of wine."
Yeah, there was a meaning behind my text, like, haha. Sorry,
you just set me up for that.
I did. I apologize, but it was fun. And I knew we'd have something to talk about then. So, all right. Well, Terry, normally we'd take a break right here, but we're trying to pack so much stuff in here. And I've done so much talking so far. Again, want to hear from the folks that are tuned in live. What are you taking from all this? What are you thinking about the industry? Where are you at? What could you use some help with? Whatever it is, there's no bad question, no bad comment. So just pop them in there and go from there. But let's continue on. Does that sound like a good idea, Terry?
Yeah, let's
go. So the next sit down I had was with the folks at Kornit, and I spoke with, and I'm gonna, you guys know I will mess up the name, so I apologize in advance, but Alon Elad, who's the president of Kornit America, and Mirva Zimmerman, who's the VP of marketing for Kornit Digital. And they,
well, for anybody who doesn't know, Kornit is an Israeli company. That's
there you
names.
go. And that's where the names are coming from. And they were both, I believe, they both had Israeli accents. So, and you'll hear it. So my very first question out of the gate was to make sure I'm saying the name right, Kornit, right? So he has a little quick story. I did want to put this clip in here because our story about where Two Rare Guys came from, where the name Kornit came from, is actually a pretty interesting story that I'd never heard before. So can we start with that, Terry? Just play a little.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
All right. Okay. And I never get the name actually right. It's I've said Kornit for years, but is that actually correct?
You got it 100% right. Kornit.
Okay. Because I hear cornet, right? The Americans always want to say cornet, I think, is what we see. But
you know where the name comes from?
No,
Kornit. Essentially, it's koranit. It is a spice. It is thyme. So the founder of the company couldn't find a name.
Yeah.
And he opened the refrigerator and he said Koranit, but Koranit sounded a bit weird. He said Kornit.
Okay.
And since there we are Kornit. Right. We're stuck with the Kornit. It's a great name.
It is a great name.
The funny thing about Kornit is that if you know, Kornit is something that has to do with the eye.
Yeah.
And when I met the private equity that invested in this company many years ago. He said, hey, I just invented a company named Kornit. And I said, is it for eye product? He said, no. It's for the eyes to look at. And then, so Kornit is the right name. Yeah. You got it right.
Good. All right, well, good. I got something right today. I like that a lot.
I had never heard that before.
I hadn't either. It was great. So I wanted to start there. And I was taking a victory lap. I got the name right. And so that's always a big deal for me.
You should ask him what his name was.
Yeah, I did. But then he said it and I was like, nope, sorry. I'm going to need a few more times with that. Kind of like Nikki Ademkowitz. I got it now, but it took me a while.
She had to win a lot of awards before we got her name right. That's
right. All right. So the next thing that I talked to him about was sustainability. So Cassie would be very proud of me. And I do have a little clip about that too, Terry, if you want to dive into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so here's where I want to start with you guys. We're here at the Media Day. You guys had a wonderful presentation earlier, and one thing that stuck out to me is your guys' focus on sustainability. We know that's a hot topic, at least a lot of people want to talk about it. What are you guys seeing in that space? How can we, what's the conversation we should be having there?
I think the angle comes in from two places. One, Kornit has been talking about sustainability for years. Yes. The one-stop shop under one system, no water. The process is clean. There's nothing to throw out afterwards. So that is the process that Kornit has been talking about for years. By the way, the digital printers in general are much cleaner than the screen printers. But in the last few years, it's been accelerating. One, screen printers, their jobs are becoming shorter, which means they need to clean and replace screens more, which requires significant more amount of water, and so they use water. They have to clean the water. There's a lot of residue. There's a lot of things that they need to throw out, and so that is becoming more extreme. The second thing that's happening, and you're starting to see that because the runs are coming shorter, it's because the demand is changing. People are not the retailers are not leaving things for a very long period of time on the shelf. So they're trying to cut down on the amount of things they buy, because if what they don't sell, one is money thrown down the trash. And the second thing is if they can't sell it, either they try to sell it in the second-hand market or they have to dispose of it. Now, there's a lot of studies. Some say 30%, some 10%. But just think of a market. I think it's a $2 trillion market a year. 10% is $200 million worth of garments go to waste every year. I'm taking the lower number. Yeah. Think what amount of waste and what sustainable means. So when you utilize print on demand, when you utilize digital, you essentially cut out a lot of the things that you throw away. Now in the United States, and Merav raised it earlier, the customer does not want sustainability, but it's not willing to pay for it. In the United States, regulation is starting to come in some of the states. In Europe, it's very strong. Funnily enough, in countries where you would think sustainability is less important because of huge manufacturing, China and India, there's strong regulation because of water. The amount of water that's needed to process garments, if it's for dyeing, if it's for washing the screens and things like that, there's huge regulations, and the cost of getting rid of that water is significantly going up. And that's forcing companies to move to digital in order to save costs. So you may not get more money for sustainable, but it will save you money in the back end. So that's where we're seeing sustainability evolve over and above just the printing process.
Wow, those are great angles to, and I think that's what the interesting part about the conversation around sustainability is there's so many different ways that people are looking at it, just trying to tackle a problem that we're all facing. So I'm glad you guys are on the case. So, all right. Well, I want to get into your guys' products here a little bit. So again, we're here at the Printing United Media Day, and you guys had a presentation earlier today. Eric, I'm going to stop it there. I think I missed the cut, so that you had it right to begin with. So I apologize. That's on me. So interesting. Anything in there, Terry? I think kind of similar to what we talked about with stalls, honestly.
Yeah, that is something I hadn't considered. And yes, absolutely. Screen printing production runs are shorter and shorter and shorter. I hadn't really thought about the sustainability end of it, where, yes, you are reclaiming those screens more quickly. You are cleaning the inks up more quickly.
Yeah.
Just the amount of tape used to tape up your screens is multiplied as well. So that's certainly an interesting point that he brought up. So
Yeah, for sure. Excellent. As you could hear there, we were continuing on down the road. We talked about their Kornit Max product that they're very proud of, and for good reason. It's a pretty amazing machine. You've got to have a nice hefty pocketbook to make it work for you. But if that works for you, then that works for you. And then the next thing we talked about are some customers that they're bringing on board that they're very excited about. It just it's a big name that we know too, and it just like right out. I'm thinking Cafe Press, but they maybe already were working with them. Darn it! Now I'll have to go back and listen. But I'll put it in the show notes. How about that?
Very good.
And then the kind of what we wrapped it up with is I wanted to ask them, right? Okay, so they were all excited about all these customers that they were working with. I'm like, okay, well, that must mean then if you're working so closely with these folks, you've got your finger on the pulse of the trends and things that are coming down the pike. So what are you seeing? And so can we hear a quick clip about that? You guys are obviously working with some people that are on the cutting edge, driving our industry forward. What are you guys seeing for trends out there? Our listeners, we call them the regulators. What should the regulators maybe have their eyes open to? What's a trend you guys might foresee for us if you had a crystal ball in front of you?
Technology or
Either way, just any
let's talk
trend
about applications.
I think applications.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, open-ended. Sorry.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about it. You're going to start seeing more and more, and this was funny. Okay. Someone once, I spoke to a designer. The designer said, in the past, especially men, we would choose the suit. Yep. We would choose the shirt. Yep. The tie had to work with the pants and with the tie, with the belt with the shoes.
Yep.
He said, now the world has flipped on. The shoes, you first decide what shoes you're going to wear, and then you build the outfit for those shoes.
Wow. I'm behind the times.
No. So tomorrow, well, you already hear about it. Yeah. Kornit is going into the shoe industry. So printing on shoes. Now, just think, you've seen it a bit. They're doing embroidery. If you go to some soccer, especially for soccer shoes, you put or football shoes. Yeah. Just think that you could print out shoes at any color, anything, any type, one-off shoes, which we never thought of in the past. That's a huge application move that's happening.
Wow.
I think of one machine that can print on any garment. That's happening. Think of other things that, again, one of the challenges we're seeing in this industry is the manpower. How do you take out the manpower, not only on the printing, but on building into the printing, like dark rooms and things like that. So the idea, I think, is the more you move in on demand, from the shoes to the pants to the suits to, it's not only T-shirts, you understand where the world is going to. Of course, there's always the connection of the Eviatar and other stuff, and that's a futuristic that is starting to come into life. But I think that those are the major trends and things that we're seeing, and we're trying, hopefully we'll be ahead of the curve to catch them. But
Wow, things I didn't even think about. So wonderful. Thank you. Eric, perfect, as usual. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was very interesting, and it's and that's going to be on the grand scale. Where you walk into a retail store in New York City and everything is custom, but that's not going to change what most of our listeners are doing every day. Selling to high schools and selling to this person, that person. But It's kind of it's almost like the prototype of the future.
Yeah, but I think for folks right now though, right? Ramona said shoes. Yes, I've been seeing a lot of posts recently from custom designed shoes, not just embroidery but painted, right? Like DTF transfer onto it, right? Like yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and from sports teams putting their numbers on the back of their tennis shoes to more design forward, almost like a hat bar, but for shoes, right? Hat bar is like all the rage in the hat world right now. Well, why not have a shoe bar? Right? I mean, why not?
Yeah. Well, Equipment Zone has a customer on the East Coast. Her entire niche in the marketplace, niche for anybody who's offended by me saying niche, all she does is jeans, and you bring in your own jeans, and she does school logos and all different kinds of things with the DTG printer on jeans. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Jeans were definitely the under-decorated product, in my opinion, when it came to DTG printing, because that material is perfect for DTG.
It isn't weird how many people say, wait, you could do that on jeans? Well, they're cotton. Yes.
Yeah. Man, now I got to decorate my jeans, Terry, darn it. All right. Well, thanks for letting me share some of what I was able to glean from folks. And we had a great conversation with several folks. Like I said, we also talked to the folks at New Coat, so we appreciate their time. We've been talking to the folks at Kornit to try to get Alon on the show, and we just haven't been able to get schedules to work out yet, but we're attempting. So if you want to learn more about them and hear some of the things that we talked about in more depth, please let Kornit know. You'd love to have them over here on the Two Regular Guys. But Terry, I know again, Epson was not involved in Media Day, so I didn't get a chance to really talk to those folks. And every time I went by their booth, it was so packed that the people I knew in there, I'm like, I'm not going to bother them. They're busy selling.
Right.
But I know there's some new cool stuff happening over there. So you want to give us a little update on that?
Yeah, we actually did a joint press conference with them in the apparel zone, not part of the Media Day, which I'm crazy that they weren't there. But we did a little because we partner with Epson on a lot of different projects. But yeah, they introduced a DTF printer. It's not for sale yet. They weren't even giving us a price yet. But I know it caught a lot of attention because one of the other vendors who's in the DTF space kept commenting about, well, how slow it would be and how it was going to be priced too high and it's going to be this, going to be that. And I'm like, they didn't say any of those things. It was just like, crap. Epson's in this now.
Yeah. Well, they've probably brought a lot of printers over from China, and now they're worried about getting rid of them.
Exactly right. Because when Epson got into the DTG marketplace, I was working. Well, I actually was working for Equipment Zone, and they were selling a different machine. And I'm like, you've got to go talk to these guys. They are going to own this marketplace, and they do. I mean, they are the vast majority of DTG printers sold in the entire world, and I think the exact same thing's going to happen. We're probably looking at this time next year before it's available. They did have the Equipment Zone powder shaker in their booth, so we're kind of proud of that. But the big thing though, and I'll be as brief as I can. The big thing is that I saw just everybody in the show talking about was DTF UV transfers. And Aaron, I know you saw it too. It was just a year ago, you barely heard about it. This year, it was everywhere. And people are just enthralled by it because it's basically, guys, it's a transfer. You peel it, you stick it on a beer glass, or you stick it on a coffee mug, or you stick it on a notebook and burnish it down. And you're just exactly, for our podcast listeners, Aaron has many examples of DTF UV transfers right there in his office. It's going to be, and I get to keep this for my list of things we expect for the future. That show coming up here in not very many weeks. DTF UV is going to be the hottest product in 2025. So,
okay.
But that would be brief.
You heard it here first. Well, good stuff, Terry. Thank you for sharing all that and interesting things. And maybe what we need to do is get the folks from Epson on to talk about what maybe we can pry some of that information out of them that they weren't ready to share yet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, never mind. I won't say what I've seen there because I don't get anybody into trouble. But hey, you can't tell anybody. But look at this.
Yeah. All right. Well, as I kind of alluded to earlier, and we talked about a little bit, you and I also had an opportunity on the morning of the opening of the show to sit down back in the apparel zone and just have a little chat in their little fishbowl. It was kind of half fishbowl, so we weren't completely, locked in the cage, but and then you kept having people come up and awkwardly stand beside you as you were leaning on the rail. So
yes, we're talking to you, Lee, at the Pretty United.
That's right. Well, I had such a great conversation with Lee at that happy hour that night. What a great guy, by the way. Speaking of good people. So anyhow, we had a great conversation there. Unfortunately for our live audience here today, we don't have that yet. They had some, as all new things happen, right? They had some technical difficulties trying to get. We weren't the only ones doing recordings there, and apparently they didn't break them up very well. So somebody's having to manually go through 3 full days worth of audio recordings.
Ouch. Not to mention, I think everybody that works there took vacation rightfully so after the show.
Absolutely. So now I think what we'll do, Terry, is we will add it to the podcast version. So it's going to be long. I know this show is already going long. But it's going to make it even longer. But I think there was some good stuff in there. So I'll try to add most of that in there. So if we could take a moment of silence. Okay, actually just not like bowing our heads or anything like that, but I just needed to know where to put that clip. So thank you for that. And then again, I know we're already in a bonus time, but would you mind if we played the clip of the interview that I had with Amanda from Printing United? The media day was her baby, and she did such a great job with it. And I'm really proud to call her a friend, and just to have this was like right at the very end of it. It was as it was wrapping up. So you could almost hear the relief in her voice as she's sharing with me. But let's
hear it.
Okay, awesome. All right, I'm sitting here with Amanda from Printing United, and we are day before the show right now, but this will be after the show has completed and we're all exhausted, but extremely excited and all the cool things that we got to see here. So leading up to the show, Amanda, you work with all of the folks that are the press side of the world, like the Two Regular Guys podcast here and whatnot. But what have you been hearing? What's the excitement that you're hearing right now?
So the excitement for the show this year, especially in kicking off our media day, is definitely that our 3-day show is something not to be missed. I know that there's a lot of things happening at the same time, but our show truly is a global draw. The really nice thing is that it's one of the only shows that truly has end-to-end equipment from all market segments. So this is important, especially as businesses are considering different areas of diversification and opportunity to expand some of their delivery for their customers and prospective customers. So it's something that they can see all in one spot over 3 days. So really cool model, cool place, a lot of draw, a lot of excitement this year. We're thrilled to be back in Vegas.
Yeah. And Terry and I have always said that, right? You have to get to a Printing United Expo just for nothing more than just to see the breadth of everything that our industry is all about. But yeah, you see all the different parts and pieces. Another thing that stood out to me in some of the conversations we had today during Media Day, specifically this morning, Mark and Ford were both talking about the size of the show and why that's important for industry. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Definitely. So when we have a little bit more, we call punching at our weight. When we have the industry and we have our members of the association, Printing United Alliance produces the expo. So the more numbers that we have, truly, the more we can carry weight on really important issues that affect the industry. So on Capitol Hill, when we're going, there's legislation that might be affecting printers. Our teams are able, through all of these activities and support, to be able to actually have the resources to get there, to effectively, combat some of the things that are really going to hurt printers in the end. So when we have more power behind us, that definitely, it doesn't just serve our 3-day event and our suppliers and printers that are looking to kind of take their business to the next level with new equipment, but it actually changes the landscape landscape of everything that we're doing in our day-to-day lives as printers, as suppliers, as association members. It helps kind of really support everything across the board, education and training, certifications. It's all really important to really have the right kind of resources to grow, both personally, professionally, as a business, and as an individual, so that you're contributing to the industry as best you can.
All right. So people don't have FOMO next year. Like, I know people that are missing Las Vegas this year are having right now. Where should they be? What should they put on their calendar, and where are they headed?
They are headed to Orlando next year. Put it on your calendar. In October, we are there. And not just for next year, but if you go to our website, go to printingunited.com, on our FAQs, all of our dates, all of our cities are listed through 2030. So you can throw it in your calendar now, save the date, you know exactly where you should be. We go East Coast, West Coast. We try to make it easy for everybody at some point or another, you know, geographically to get to the show. So definitely put on your calendar. You do not want to miss out. The energy here is off the charts this year. So super, super excited and want to have everybody here next year. Awesome. Yep.
Awesome. Well, yep, there you go. So you've got your September, October's mapped out for the next 6 years. So there we go. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Awesome. Perfect way to wrap the show.
Yeah, I agreed. Very cool. And I just thought that it was really cool to, again, why they're trying to grow it. And so, Terry, this was a fact that I learned there. Printing United Expo is actually the 29th largest expo in the United States.
Really?
Out of all the expos, it's the 29th largest, which means they can actually only house their show at 4 venues in the United States. There's only 4 venues that can hold the size that they need.
Wow,
Vegas,
not aware of
Orlando, Atlanta, and New Orleans.
Wow. That's impressive. I mean, when you think about some of the shows like the car show in New York City, and that's some pretty good company to be in.
Yep, for sure. All right, like you said, great way to wrap the show. Terry, what's coming up for you here?
My complete screen printing business course. My next class in Chicago will be at Atlas Screen Supply on October 12th and 13th. That show, as always, that class is sold out. So I guess it's time to start penciling out. I don't even want to say it, Aaron. Penciling out 2025 class schedule.
I'm not listening, Terry.
My next workhorse class here in Phoenix will be November 16th and 17th. I'll be talking DTG and DTF printing at Impressions Expo in Fort Worth. That is October 24th. And watch for all of my upcoming events at terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, so Graphics Pro is in Indianapolis is next week. So I'm excited to see anybody in the Midwest there. Actually, they've got a new program called Graphics Pro Expo University, GPX University, and the kickoff, and they've taken the Start Here idea that kind of formed, and the kickoff's going to be Start Here, and then they're going to take it out onto the show floor for the rest of the time. But I'd love for you guys to join me at the Start Here. And there's going to be myself and some other amazing speakers. And we're going to have a panel discussion that I'm going to moderate. And it's starting at 4 p.m. on October 2nd. And we'll go until 5:30 p.m. local time. So if you head over to graphicsproexpo.com, you can look up Graphics Pro University. And then on the 5th of October, a few days later, I will be there at Graphics Pro Expo teaching my very popular seminar, How to Master Pricing for Profit. And that'll be happening at 11 a.m. local time. So again, graphics-pro-expo.com to sign up and join that. That's a totally free class that they offer. And then during the rest of the show, so I'm at that start, and then my class is almost at the end. And I'm like, what should I do? And fortunately for me, I've been around long enough so that I've got some great friends, and my good friends over at the Magic Touch said, yeah, come and hang out in our booth, and because I was like, I don't want to just sit in a hotel while all this cool stuff's going on. And so anyhow, I'm going to be hanging out with them over in booth 606. You can actually go to their website, themagictouchusa.com, to check that out. But come see me if you're in Indianapolis and we don't get a chance to connect. that'll be on me, but I should be in that booth most of the time unless I'm at Graphics Pro University or teaching my class. So booth 606.
You'll be hanging out in good company there.
I love hanging with Lucas and Joseph and Chuck, and they're always so much fun to watch too. If you've ever watched Joseph kind of do his dog and pony show, he's stretching shirts and it's a blast. It's a total blast. So all right, so that's Graphics Pro Expo. The other thing is I am looking for companies out there that I can buy a coffee for. Right? Like, this sounds weird, but yes, I want to buy you a coffee. I'm trying to get about 20 to 30 minutes of your time. So if you're a business owner and you've got 2 to 5 team members, maybe that's a partner, maybe that's a part-time employees, maybe that's VAs, whatever. Just, I want you to have some relationships in your business. And I need businesses that have been in business for 2 or more years. I'd love to talk to you. I'm calling these partner perspective chats. And it's a no strings attached conversation for me to just learn about business owners and the challenges, and no sales pitch at all, I promise. And just a friendly chat. So if you go to osg.link/coffee, you can sign up for your space, and I will send you that Starbucks gift card before we get started. So you can have your coffee ready, or you can grab it whenever it is good for you. And then last thing for me is I've got the OSG Facebook page. We've got a Facebook group. If you go to osg.link/group, if you're a business owner, I think this is a group you want to be in. There's lots of great perspectives. We just finished an amazing challenge where we got to learn what other people were grateful for and just raise the vibration of the entire group. We discuss more than just surface level stuff, right? I get that it's fun to every once in a while say, do you like pineapple on your pizza? Cool. But let's get into the depth of what's really going on. What are you grateful for? What's working in your business? What are the good things that are happening around the business owner world that's out there? So it's called the Entrepreneur Success Hub. And so come over and check it out over there at osg.link/group. And then I'm going to share what, because you've got secret sauce coming up here. So I'll give you a chance to prep for that. Eric, always doing, again, unfortunately for Eric, 2 regular guys is not the only thing that he does. It's just not a good, well enough paying job. But one of the other things he's got going on is you can check out his latest article in Images Magazine. It's called Learning from the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Just because you don't like your client's choice of design, thread, or garment. That's all right. I knew that was coming. Just because you don't like your client's choice of design, threads, or garment, the job still needs to be stitched to the best of your ability. So the September issue, Eric's offered advice on how to avoid disappointments by truly listening to what your customer wants, even when the art is questionable. imagesmag.uk/SEPT24-Eric, ERICH. And then today is episode 203 of The Take Up, and he's going to be talking about diagnosing embroidery disasters. And in this session, he's going to revisit the basics of tracking down an issue with your machine embroidery, from simply discovering where a difficulty comes from, you're digitizing, or something on the machine, or discovering more about where your digitizing or editing has gone astray. So he'll discuss the common ways to design that designs go wrong. If you'll head over to ericcampbell.com and click the Take Up tab at the top, you'll get the YouTube channel, and you can tune in live at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Terry will tell you about daylight savings, etc.
It's Mountain Daylight Time. I live in Mountain Standard Time.
Okay. All right. There we go. So Mountain Daylight Time for those of you that are 2:30. All right. If you're part of the center of the universe time, it's 3:30. Okay. Does that help? All right. Well, Terry, we have had a great show today, and it would not be complete without the DTG DTF Battle Royale here. The secret sauce is going to be delicious. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. All right. DTG or DTF printing. What's the best choice for you? Should I print DTG direct trend, or I'm sorry, should I print DTG direct prints? Should I print DTF transfer films on a DTG printer? Should I buy a standalone DTF printer with an inline powder shaker dryer? Let's consider all those. First, DTG prints look and feel more like a screen print, Many decorators, especially screen printers, prefer that feel compared to a DTF transfer. If you're printing 100% cotton or high cotton content blends, this may be your best option. Your cost for an average print, depending on the machine you buy, will be about $2 plus 25 cents for pre-treating. If you want to do DTF transfers, but may have limited production, a DTG printer producing DTF transfers might be your best option. DTG printers have now been on the market for nearly 20 years, so maybe more production stable and production friendly for occasional use to make transfers. In other words, again, depending on the machine you buy, a DTG printer can be left sitting idle for a longer period of time than a DTF printer. Your cost for a DTF transfer on a DTG printer will be about $1.25 for a 16 by 20 transfer sheet. Want to do volume DTF printing? A standalone unit with a printer and a powder shaker dryer is your best option. Along these lines, you will want a minimum of a 17-inch wide printer. Commonly, a 24-inch wide is preferable, but double doors or an overhead door are required to bring the powder shaker dryer in for the most part. So a 17-inch machine will fit through most 36-inch doorways. Less than 17-inch printers are usually very slow and not production practical. In other words, it's difficult to make money with, say, a 12-inch wide DTF printer. These machines are attractive because of a lower price of entry than a standalone DTF printer. But with this film size, you're better off with a DTG printer because of the speed and dependability. For a 17-inch or 24-inch wide DTF printer, your cost for film, ink, and adhesive powder will be about 50 to 60 cents per square foot. So choose the right system that fits your specific needs and marketplace. That's my secret sauce for today. Pardon my tripping over words. It's
all right. It was
second
still
language.
very good. Very good secret sauce. It wasn't just all battle. You just gave us the information for us to make our own decisions. That's awesome.
That's really based on people calling me up saying, I don't know what to do. And, that's kind of the breakdown I give them. So
there you go. That's the breakdown. You got it right there in secret sauce. Delicious. All right, Terry. Well, what a great show today. We come to the close of another one. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to thank all the folks that participated in the clips that we shared, all of the information that we were both able to gather there at Printing United. Thanks to the folks at Printing United for having us there at their venue. We will look forward to seeing them next year in October and doing it in October there in Orlando, Florida next year. So it's
around the corner.
That's right. That's right. Terry's already talking about 2025, so we might as well. All right. Well, all right. Again, thanks everybody.
Yes. And we want to thank Eric Campbell, our show producer, for doing double duty today, getting all those clips played and all that sort of thing. We appreciate you very much, Eric.
Yeah, good stuff, Eric. Thank you very much. Next week, we've got Dan Barefoot joining us, and he's going to be pulling double duty. Speaking of double duty, he's going to be bringing us the news, and then we're going to have him back to be the guest because this new venture that he's got going, the WIN, World Imaging News, is a brand new venture, and we want to hear about how this came about. If you're not familiar with Dan Barefoot, he's been around the industry super long time, probably as long as you, and definitely as long as me, if not more. And so just getting his take now that he's in a space where he doesn't have a horse in the race per se, where he's just covering the industry. We're really excited to talk to him and kind of get his take on things and where WIN is headed. So going to be right next week.
Certainly looking forward to that. But until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.